This podcast is brought to you by Reimagine Radio, the online radio station that aims to give you information on disability and music. My name's Graham Wyman, and I'm the program coordinator with the Vancouver Adapted Music Society. Today on Reimagine Radio for our VAMS featured artist section, we are joined by Howard Naylor. Hello, Howard. How are you doing today?
Great, Graham. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. The sun's out. No complaints there.
Yeah, it was a little sunny here, but cloudy as well at the same time. It's Penticton, right? The weather's always just that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, wait for 5 minutes, it just changes. So.
Oh, for sure. Well, fingers crossed it stays a little bit nicer for the rest of the day.
Right on.
So, Howard, to jump right in, how did you get involved in music, and was the piano your first instrument?
Well, my first instrument was actually my voice.
Okay.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I always was sang in class. The Beatles hit. I wanted to sing. Mm-hmm. I just convinced myself because my hands are, I was born with a disability with my hands, so I never ever thought I could play an instrument whatsoever.
Right.
So I just used my voice as my instrument until, for some reason, this guy came up to me. No, actually, my best friend came and said, "I have this new instrument. It's called the Yamaha PSR, and it's a workstation. Okay. And what it does is it follows the chords of the band. So you plug in the style that you want to do, and then you do the chord progression, the band follows you."
Right.
So I just started learning all the chords all by myself. Okay, that's a C chord, that's a D, now I went to D minors, then I went to the sevenths and stuff. So I just basically taught myself how to play the piano well enough. I call it plink and plunking.
Oh, right.
To get the right chords. But for some reason, because maybe it's the Beatles University I went to, I don't know, but I always hear these nice chord progressions with everything. And so I learned quickly how to do the progressions. Mm-hmm. And then I came to songwriting right after that. So, and I did that. I started learning that in Nashville about 25 years ago. I started learning how to do all that and getting comfortable with that. I do play a more harmonica as well a little bit, just when I want to do some Blue Rodeo, Neil Young.
Right.
Got to have the harmonica, right? You got to play that.
No, it's a staple.
Thing. And even in some of my songs that I've written, I have to have a harmonica too. So yeah, I love those two things. But like I said, my vocals is my instrument.
Okay. And so how have you seen your vocals progress over the years? Like when you first started, you mentioned the Beatles as an influence, but how have you seen, what kind of wheelhouse do you feel you fall under?
Well, I've been gifted or cursed, I always say, with a really high voice still.
Right.
I'm not a spring chicken anymore, but I was just singing now, and I'm singing Paul McCartney, like Paul McCartney in his range. I sing Frank Sinatra. So I started singing the British Invasion when I was a kid growing up. So I always had that sound anyways. Mm-hmm. So I could do Herman's Hermits and all that stuff. Okay. So I always, I could short my voice and I could cheat with a little bit. But then when I started to say to myself, well, I want to be a better singer. So when I moved down to the States and down to California, I took lessons all the time, showcasing lessons, all that kind of stuff, learning. And even went to a choir to get the vocals right.
Right.
And then you cheat after a while. But as I told you earlier on before this interview started, I broke my back 2 months ago, but it's made me focus back on my vocals again because I was kind of cheating.
Right.
You get like that. You start cheating and because you can get away with it. Mm-hmm. But now I want my vocals to be smooth, like the real instrument I can be while I still can.
Right.
So.
And actually, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about your process of, after your recent accident and coming back and how that's influenced how you're progressing with your vocals right now?
Well, just before the accident happened, I was feeling pretty good. I distributed my second album in October, and I was working on my second single from the album, Songs from Isolation. Mm-hmm. And then I had this accident, and it's like, oh my God, it's all over. I mean, I thought for sure the vocals were over. Because I kept reading all this stuff in papers and this and that. Oh, you're never going to do this again. You're not going to do that again. Right. Well, I'm always in good shape, so I'm always working on that. Right. And it's changed the way I sing now, which is good because I still have the tonality, but now I'm opening up more. And hopefully within another month, it'll come even stronger for me. So I have a new album I've written right now, and I'm learning how to sing my songs. Right. But now I'm just taking my time how to learn how to sing them. So I'm hitting different higher notes I wouldn't try before, but now I'm trying and seeing if that's going to work.
Okay. And I get so, and essentially it's also helped you be in touch more with your diaphragm, I would imagine.
Well, it is, and I swim not once a week now. I do twice a week now, so I do 60 laps a week.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's the best thing for singing, because it really opens up the diaphragm, opens up the lungs. It's great on your body, and so I've been doing that a lot more, and just maybe a little bit of weights, but just basically focusing on that. Because really, I'm not a really good piano player. I'm not really good at this, but I think I'm a pretty good vocalist. I have a decent sound that people like.
Right.
And I don't know if I told you that, but I've been working with Eric Appler.
Okay.
You know where Eric Appler is?
Yeah, I know the name.
Well, yeah, we have been working together, and he loves my sound. He thinks what I'm doing now is pretty special. So I've been really focusing on that in especially the last 5 months. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, I can attest the whole idea around like focusing on your breathing with swimming. I'm a swimmer myself, and you're right, especially when you get in the zone. I used to do competitive swimming, so the way that it takes, for instance, to build up to say when you're actually in a competition, but just that focus on your breath and how to control that and maintain that and sustain that when you're going.
When you get out of the pool and I come here and I'll just start rehearsing, and it's like, oh, easy peasy.
Right.
I can just, and you know what I want? It's just so clear as a bell.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I had to do this for a living, I would always swim for an hour or something, and then go to the concert or something and then sing. That's the way it would work for sure.
Of course.
Yeah.
So you mentioned your last record, Songs from Isolation. How did that come about? And I mean, how did you record it given the pandemic?
Sheer boredom, and it was the toughest thing in the world, because I came up with a song called We're All in This Together, kind of paying tribute to the frontline workers and doctors and everything like that. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty catchy, and I talked to my old producers. So that's over the phone, over the internet with waves. We just kept the waves back and forth. Here's the drum track. Here's the vocal. So I ended up doing the vocals from my living room. So it wasn't the best place I ever did vocals in my lifetime. Trust me, it was really hard.
Right.
But he did the magic on his side. So then he said to me, "Well, why don't you just do a whole album? You've got enough songs and stuff like that. I had a couple new ones." Yeah. So we spent the summer recording the album.
Okay.
And then we mixed everything ready to go. So October we released it. And now we're just doing little singles off of it right now.
Okay.
And as of right now, I released my song called Those Summer Days, just in time for summer. It's actually off my first album.
Okay.
But I remixed it, and I'm just pushing it right now and see where it goes. I did a new video called Those Summer Days on YouTube, and it's kind of a lyric video I did, so it's ready to go. Mm-hmm. Also in the process is another release I'm going to be coming up in the next 2 months called Baby Don't Cry, and it's going to be animated.
Oh, interesting. Okay, what style of animation?
So I'm looking forward to that too, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure. Yeah, I had a big talk with Eric. He says the best thing to do nowadays is not redo an album, because people are just into singles.
Right. Yeah.
So he says just do your singles. If you do like 5 singles and just record them and just release them every 2 months and get people to know who you are, because everybody's been doing music since the COVID knockdown, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. So there's so much music coming out that if you can just have new stuff every 2 months coming out and just keep pushing and pushing, people might notice you,
yeah.
So, and that's the plan right now, is just releasing the new stuff and see where it goes.
Okay. So have you, I mean, I've talked to a bunch of artists who, and including myself at some point during the pandemic, where you may have hit a wall or anything like that. Did you find yourself having any of that issue where you just kind of hit a creative spell, or?
If anything else, it actually increased my creativity, because I had so much downtime.
Right.
And I guess it's sleeping irregular hours, because you don't have to get to work anymore, right? You're sitting at home.
Yeah.
So I get up at 5 a.m, put the headphones on, jump on my keyboard, and we start writing. But I said, well, let's write the lyrics first, right? So I got really creative for the lyrics. So then I said, let's go and let's make some chords with this, and I find the right style that I wanted for it and whatever. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, within a week, I had 7 songs.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Just like that for my new album. Mm-hmm. So now I'm just kind of learning them, like how to sing them. Right. They're all ready to go as far as my end of it. Mm-hmm. So with my keyboard, I have the whole demo song ready to go, start to finish. Mm-hmm. So I bring it to the studio with the charts, and then we bring the magic in. So I want a really nice guitar here. Or I want the piano here. You know what I mean? So that's where the real magic comes in.
Right.
Right now is the work. So, and I don't mind because now I say to myself, well, this is my job now. You know, I get in the morning, I work, I network. You know, I'm on there doing, you know, just little hits on Facebook or Instagram and just telling people who I am and just keep putting new stuff out. But the process now is how I feel. Every day I have to do something with my music.
Right.
So,
yeah. And so you mentioned that you've been having a more focus on lyrics. Is that how you traditionally write, or do you primarily come up, or is it a congruent between lyrics and harmony?
Well, when I first started deciding that I think I'm a good singer, but I got to be more than that. I didn't have to do any music. I didn't have chords or anything at that time. I started writing lyrics, and so for my first gig, when I was living in Penticton, we had a duo called Partners in Rhyme. And he did all the music basically, and I did all the words. I'd come up with the ideas. We'd work together on all that. But I did most of the lyrics for all that. And then afterwards, when I learned how to play the keyboard a little bit to do I just did everything myself. Right. And so now I thought, well, I think maybe the lyrics is a strong thing to start with, and then you can always put the chords in there afterwards and see how it goes. I think that's a good formula for me right now. Yeah, it seems to work.
Oh, there you go. No, I mean, right, there's no traditional handbook for any of this stuff. And whenever inspiration hits, you just might as well roll with it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, you mentioned Penticton. Why don't you tell me a little bit about the music community in the Okanagan?
Well, first of all, I went to high school in Penticton here, so it was like coming back home 2 years ago. So I left the lower mainland, and I'm also a wine expert, whatever that's supposed to mean. I've taken all the courses in the wine. So when I moved up here, I said, this is great. Wine and music, perfect for Penticton, right?
Yeah.
It is. Then COVID hit and everything's kind of changed for that. But it's still opening up a little bit. And I have played some gigs up here. When I first came, the first summer, I thought, oh, good, everybody, I'll get to know everybody. Everything was booked up already. Right, of course. Months and months ahead of time. So by the time I got up here in the May, it was already done. I got a few gigs up here, but it's a small community. If they want something big, they'll go out of town to get it. But normally, a lot of the talent's here already. Everybody knows everybody. So what I did, I got a job working at the only music store in town. So I could network from there, right? And everything was going great. Everybody was getting to know me. Also, COVID. And everything shut down. And it's still shut down. I mean, right here, right now.
Yeah, no, it's
I think after this long weekend coming up, I think they're going to open it up again, and I think it's going to be small venues open, like wineries will have the solo things and this type of thing, but it's going to be kind of like last summer where it's just kind of hit and miss, and they're going to pass on big events.
Yeah, no, I don't think anytime soon. Hopefully, again, when we're recording this, the public health orders will be changed. Hopefully by the beginning of it.
I hope so too, right? I mean, because I'm actually going to take up an ad in the local paper, telling everybody who I am, and saying I'm in town here. I haven't had a chance to network enough with you people here, but here's what I do. Here's my new song. If you got any gigs, here's my place to get a hold of me and listen. And I think that's the way to do it. And otherwise, how are you going to network?
No, of course, right? It's all about getting your name out there, right?
Exactly. And so I have to talk to this guy today about it. So hopefully I'll do that in June, and hopefully it'll open up and we can get at least a few gigs and people like that can hear me.
Right. Yeah. Well, you did mention that you've played a few venues, a few wineries or gigs in the Okanagan. Have you had a particular standout moment, since you've been up there again? Yeah,
I've had a few places where nobody's heard my voice before. So once again, everybody thinks if they don't look at me, they think I'm 22 years old. So when I get in, I start playing all these old songs. I suit the songs that's the key thing for every singer. Please just always sing songs you can sing that suits your voice. Never sing anything else that doesn't.
Yeah.
So a lot of my stuff, like maybe America or like I say, Blue Rodeo, Jim Cuddy.
Yeah.
Make sure everybody hears, and they hear me and they go, "Holy, you sound like a record." Right. And I go, "Well, I don't mean to, but that just the way the style of the vocals are and everything." So I've been getting a lot of wow from people. Yeah. And a lot of bands in town here, I noticed when I first came in town, girl singers.
Okay, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of the guys, even though they do their old rock and roll guy songs, girl singers, because guys can't sing that high.
Yeah, that range.
Much anymore, right? Which I still can, which is a curse, like I said.
Yeah, yeah. So just a little aside, you mentioned America, and America was actually the second band I ever saw live, and I'm just
Oh
wondering
yeah,
what tracks. Yeah, they opened, or sorry, Chilliwack opened up for America. So
right.
I'm just wondering what America tracks you play.
I do. I do a lot of the well, the big ones for sure. I do "Horse with No Name."
Yeah,
I call "Horse with No Name" a warm up song for me because all the
yeah,
la la la's.
yeah.
It just
That's
opens
a
up the
very
whole
fair point
time.
at the end there. Yeah, for sure.
Ventura Highway.
That's
I
my
do
personal favorite.
Daisy Jane.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I do a couple more as well. No, yeah, and I do. Yeah, I do a couple of the harmonica as well. I'll think of the name of it, long something or other.
Yeah.
But I do that, and then I'll do a lot of Neil Young as well because that's a nice vocal range as well, comfortability for my voice. Then I get to play the harmonica.
Yeah.
I say Jim Cuddy suits my
Yeah.
voice really well, so I do a lot of Jim Cuddy.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just break it up and sometimes just do different stuff, right? So
Yeah.
old 60s or whatever. Yeah.
One of my favorite musician ego moments was America was just signed on Atlantic Records, and Neil went to them, or went. I think it was Aget Erming, and I might be wrong on who actually signed them, but his line was, "Why are you signing these guys? These guys are the poor man's Neil Young." I was like, what that just that ego moment for Neil.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at America, they're actually from England, most of the guys, right?
Yeah.
And their producer, which is what I would love to have had my producer, is George Martin on their first greatest big hit album. So they had a lot of great songs and style, and that particular era, early '70s, was. I think that's my high school time. That was really when I kind of hit a lot of that stuff. So it sticks with me as you get older.
Of course.
But I mean, there's a lot of great artists. I do Billy Joel. I do like a lot of Bee Gees. I do a lot of them too.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. You have to have the overbite to do the Bee Gees. So.
Right. So, how have you found accessibility up in the interior for certain venues and things like that?
I think that here, small towns, because they're pretty good about going by the code about everything.
Okay.
I notice a lot. They'll have a lot of runways. They have a lot of everything because it is an older town too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. So you have a lot of accessibility for wheelchairs and stuff like because of that reason, especially.
Right.
As a matter of fact, they have little things around town here where they have a bicycle that carry two older folks up front.
Okay.
Like a chariot type of thing, and they ride them around town and stuff like that.
Okay.
So they're really aware of how to treat the elderly and the people with disabilities. And speaking of the elderly stuff here too, we have guys that go around to different senior centers to sing, perform outside.
Yeah.
Just periodically, just to entertain. So they go to the balconies and they can hear,
Of course.
doing the old stuff and things like that. So yeah, they're very conscious about disability and accessibility.
No, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, tagging back to venues in the Okanagan, is there a particular one that you haven't played yet that you'd like to?
Yes.
Okay.
There's one it's called the Lakeshore of the Parrot.
Okay.
And every summer on the weekend, they have a duo, maybe sometimes three people, mostly just a duo or a single up there.
Mm-hmm.
But usually they're pretty good. But it's right on the lakeshore.
Okay.
Middle of summer, right? And it's like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, sun's going down. It's just the best place to play. I mean, everybody gets to hear you, and it's just casual and fun.
Yeah.
And because of the COVID, I haven't been able to get in there to do that, right?
Of course.
But it's not over yet, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So,
no, it's still, hopefully we're on the back end of all this.
well, that's what I think. I'm having thoughts of moving back to Vancouver again too.
Okay.
I'm not sure where this is going to lead.
Mm-hmm.
With my last album and my new stuff coming up. I'm not sure where it's going to take me. Hopefully it takes me somewhere, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Vancouver's still, my handpicked and Tawasin, my kind of hometown, so I go back and forth all the time. So,
Of course.
yeah.
Now, you mentioned that you lived in Nashville. You've lived in LA, Vancouver, obviously, and Penticton. So, what maybe you can tell our audience a little bit, like what are the takeaways that you had, say, playing in Nashville versus LA versus up in the Northwest?
Huge. No, I was in there through the 90s, so it was just turning into hip hop to rap in LA, and it was big time. So I moved down, and it was also the big time of cowboy music, right? It was hit LA, and everybody wanted to be a cowboy. Everyone was dressing in the cowboy garb
Shania
and stuff like
Twain
that.
and things like that.
Right. So so my music's classic rock. So when I went there, I just went to karaoke clubs, which, to get out there, took some training and stuff like that for vocals. But I found it very difficult just to get together to do things with people because it's so big,
Right.
LA.
Yeah.
It takes you 3 hours to cross the street.
Yeah.
Right?
No, of
So it's
course.
really hard to get together with people and get a close-knit thing and to go out and do things. So I happened to win a vocal contest in LA, and I went to New York for a trip, and I got to sing a couple of songs there. On the way back, I stopped in Nashville.
Okay.
To see what Nashville was like. And it was, oh, these guys are everything's so close, and everybody's just right into it, and everybody's singing everywhere. And I go, you know what? Maybe I'll move here and see what goes on with that. So I ended up living in Nashville for 10 years.
Okay. Yeah.
And I really got down to, because it's not just country music, it's gospel music, and a lot of classic rock and rollers live there in Nashville.
Yeah.
And if time you want to see an act, they all come to Music City. So I got to see a lot of great artists throughout that 10 years. And plus I learned so much, right? So by the time I got back here, I think I had a pretty good education. 21. So now I go into the studios, I really know what I like and what I want. Like, I may not know the riff I want, but until I hear it, right? And then I hear that's the one, right? So I'm really comfortable now, studio-wise. I feel, and this last year up here, I got to play more and playing on the grand pianos and stuff like that. I feel, and with bands, I feel so comfortable that I just want to get into a studio with some players and then take something out on the road one day and just play. And you know what? I want to just play all my own stuff now.
No, and
right?
Yeah, exactly. Right. You've got your repertoire down, right?
I have enough for 3 albums now, and I figure that's a 3-hour gig right there now. So, you know what? That's my hope. That's what I want this year, next year to become.
So, you mentioned, you learned a lot in Nashville. What were some of the main takeaways, that helped you progress in your musical career coming out of Nashville?
I think the biggest thing for me is the fact that everybody was so into it. Like every cab driver, every busser, everybody that's in the retail business, they're all musicians, they're songwriters, they're producers, they're all this, right?
Yeah.
So everybody's together with everything. So, we go to work, I worked at the Opryland Hotel, the Wild Horse Saloon back down there. Okay. So all the guys there, a lot of the guys would come over to the house with the guitars and they would jam all night, and then you do the Bluebird Cafe stuff. You go to Roberts down, and you're always finding places to play or trying to play to be heard and seen. Yeah. And it's very compact. Everybody goes, boy, this is not a very big town. No, it's not a very big town. It's spread out, but everything's right and tight. Right. So you can go anywhere and find good music to play or just to hear.
So it's an incredibly, would you say, like immersive community when it comes to music? It
is. Right. Everybody knows everybody. I bet at that time, every musician, every artist for country music down there. So everything, it's really, it's cool. It's a cool place. Yeah, you learn a lot.
Yeah. So just to finish up our segment for today, I was wondering, in a perfect world, what would be your band setup when you go out and are able to do something live again?
My perfect world would be this, is to have a band and some backup girl singers, because my voice is so high, it's pretty hard to get high to do the high part. So I would like to get a nice tight band like that and just work on some of the harmonies and the riffs that I've come up with and really focus on that. I've even got the name for the band already. I've had it for years. Okay. It's called the Northern Cold Front Band.
Okay, that's very cool. That definitely...
Because when I was living down in the States, every winter, here's that northern cold front coming down from Canada. Right. So I thought that would be a cool name for a Canadian band.
Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect.
So that's what I want to do. I'm hoping someone like Eric Appler, who knows everybody that's anybody in Canadian music, and he's right there in Toronto. He's right there. So I'm learning from him how to maybe get my name out there, get this whole thing going where he believes my music is strong. So I just need to get that little thing going where I can get that band, where I can get that notoriety, so we can get that together for sure. Right. I'm still old enough and young enough that I want to still tour. Right. I want to see part of the world, and I want to be able to do it that way.
Of course. No, that's always a fun experience when you're able to bring your music to different geographical regions.
Well, you get to travel and get paid for it.
Exactly, right? Yeah. And now, Howard, where can our listeners find your music?
You can find it on my website. I'm actually on all the media, all the like Apple, you name it, Spotify, I'm on all those.
Okay. Yeah.
But my website is www.howardleenaylor.ca. So Howard, LEENAYLOR.ca. And I've been building my website too. My pages are getting bigger. Thinking, holy mackerel, what's going on here? So my first homepage is my new single with the video, Those Summer Days.
Okay.
Bang right off the bat. So you get to hear about that. Then it goes into my last album, Songs of Isolation. And the third page is Possibilities, and goes on from there, from music videos to music. So it's really gotten bigger now because I've worked at it for a while now. So it's getting bigger.
Oh, that's perfect. Well, Howard, thank you very much for joining us today, and wish you all the best, and hopefully playing a few gigs this summer.
That'd be great. Thanks, Grant. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, cheers. And for all of our listeners, stay safe and keep that music flowing.
Cheers.